Well, hey there. Welcome to day 247 of our Let's Grow annual challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and we're doing one thing every day to grow. And this month, we're focusing on the contribution area and aspect of our life and of a life framework, a 9-part life framework that I use and share in all my challenges for the last few years. I didn't used to share it. I used to share it in bits and pieces. I have a life framework with 9 different categories of our life that I set my goals in, my objectives, actually the framework for how I plan my life instead of just living randomly. And some days I still live randomly, but for the most part, I've got lifelong legacy goals set in each of those 9 areas: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution, communication, and confidence. And we've covered all of them except for communication, and we're doing contribution this month, and then we'll do some fun things every day for the rest of the year. But today we're talking about, and we're going to think about our thoughts and beliefs as they impact and as they pertain to or are related to our contribution, and whether we'll even contribute or not, or how we contribute. We all contribute to the world. Sometimes it's in a positive way, sometimes it's in a negative way. But everything is energy. If you believe in metaphysical or different types of physics, you understand that everything that exists is energy. So everything we put out into the world, even subconsciously, is creating the world in which we live. We could talk about that probably for months and weeks and years, and I still don't understand how it all works. It's kind of like electricity. Everybody knows and loves it, but nobody actually knows how it's created or destroyed. It's just a form of energy. Well, how is that form of energy created? We know how to create it and duplicate it in certain ways, but we're not actually that great at controlling it in some instances. So I just wrote down, and what I want us to do today for an action item is, as we go about our day, just notice thoughts and beliefs that pop into our head. And remember, that's just the tip of the iceberg for what's really going on in our subconscious level of thinking and mind, our subconscious mind. But what I like to do is just as I notice them throughout the day, I'll write them down. I've already written down 3 I'll share in a second. But then right before I go to bed, I like to look at the list and say, is this for me or against me in terms of how I want to show up in the world and how I want to make a contribution? If it's for me and it's to my benefit and it moves me toward my goals and objectives, it gets a plus. If it's not, and I'll share one of those because that was the first one I wrote down, then it's a negative. And so I might want to look at that thought and belief, say, where did that come from? And then ask myself, is that even my belief? Maybe it's the belief of someone I'm related to. Maybe it's one of my best friends' belief that I just adopted because at the time it sounded like a good idea. And then through my years of experience, I added evidence to make that true for me. But maybe it isn't. Maybe it never was, but maybe it was. And now it is totally not true for me anymore. So I'll give you an example. The first thing I wrote down was, I'll contribute when I make blank amount of money, a certain amount of money. I'll contribute when I make $50,000 a year. I'll contribute when I make $100,000 a year. I'll contribute when I make $1 million, or when I have a certain net worth, or sometime in the future. To me, I will put a negative by that one because it's a false belief. It's not my belief. I think we should be making the world a better place and doing what we can with what we've got right now. So why would I want to keep that as a thought or a belief that I can't do anything to make the world a better place until I make $1 million? How ridiculous is that, right? Then when I put, I'm a taker, not a giver. Giving is for rich people. And I just wrote down those 3 quick this morning, so I had something to talk about. We will have Riley's story. Actually, we have Riley's story in Guide 2 of the Let's Grow Annual Challenge private Facebook group page. I have not pasted it there, but it is done. And I'll paste it there when I post this video. And you can look at how this impacted her, the thoughts and beliefs that she had and how they impacted her in various stages of her life. But that's what we're going to do today. We're going to think about and notice, literally notice the thoughts and beliefs that come up. I mean, maybe you see somebody when you're driving to work that's begging for money on one of the corners or a stoplight or something. What are the thoughts that pop into your head about that person, about you, and how you respond to that, etc. So then I say take it a step further and put the little plus and minus by it so you can actually use today as a way to understand yourself better and know what is and is not right for you. If you're contributing to something and it doesn't feel right, then that's not the right way to contribute for you. I think of, all these pay it forward things, like people go through a drive-through, and I don't do fast food anymore, so don't really experience this, but they'll pay for the car behind them or something. And I've had it. It's an amazingly wonderful feeling, and everybody pays it back forward, but maybe it's not the right time for you to pay it back forward. I think the last time I heard this, there were like 200 people in a row at maybe a coffee place that did it, which is really cool, and it makes a great story for social media. But I gotta believe that there's a couple people in there that were like, this doesn't feel right for me right now, but they did it anyway because of peer pressure. So we want to get to know ourselves and what's right for us and how we show up. I love volunteering in person, and we'll talk about that throughout this month as we're talking about contribution. But given that I'm legally blind and am no longer allowed to drive, it has taken my ability to volunteer flexibly and whenever I feel like it in person and made it more challenging. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. It just means I have to plan ahead for it. I can't just do it like I used to on a whim, just go show up and help somewhere. It has to be a little bit more structured and planned ahead of time, which I should do in my schedule anyway. All right, that is our action item for today. Notice your thoughts and beliefs with respect to contribution. Write them down, end of the day, plus or minus. And then my favorite question is that even my belief? And is it true for me right now? Because a lot of things we pick up as we're growing up and having experiences, and we adopt them as our beliefs. And then we realize, oh my God, that's, my grandma talking, or that's my Uncle John talking, or somebody. So we want to and I love my Uncle John. That's not a specific example, but I'm just saying we need to make sure that it's something that really contributes to making us a better person and moves us in the direction we want to grow with respect to contribution. All right, any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, have an awesome day, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.